Kavita.
And I'm Rachel.
And we are so phenomenally excited to introduce the Master of Ceremonies for tonight's show. So before we introduce him on stage, we'd like to provide you with a few choice details about him. Our speaker for tonight is a Crimson Bulldog.
That's from Harvard and Georgetown, don't worry.
Oh, thank God.
He's got the heart of a gator.
And the valor of an Army veteran.
He's as brave as a lion.
But as gentle as a lamb.
He's as bright as a button.
And as sharp as a tack.
He's as busy as a beaver.
But as calm as Lake Alice.
He's a reader, leader, and believer.
He's smart, he stands apart, and he understands complex body parts.
He's gracious, tenacious, and undeniably ageless.
He sings and plays guitar at his folk mass.
And he's absolutely adored by his office staff.
We check.
He's a beloved grandfather and a family man.
And he's committed to helping his students despite his committed schedule.
He's a highly sought after educator and attending.
Whose love and support is never ending. And with that, we're very proud and happy to introduce our speaker.
The Associate Dean and Professor in the Division of Maternal and Fetal Medicine.
The Associate Dean for Student Affairs at the University of Florida's College of Medicine.
The unofficial UF football post-game injury reporter.
Small Group 12 leader and trailblazer, shout out Anne.
Medical doctor extraordinaire.
And a man that we are all extremely lucky to have in our medical education and lives.
The one.
The only.
Dr. William Patrick Duff.
Wow, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. I've never tried to write a bucket list or anything, but there have been certain things that seem to me would be kind of cool to do. Last year, one of the residents in our department asked me to preside at her wedding ceremony, and that was pretty exciting. But when Kavita and Michael asked me about this, I thought this seemed like sort of the same thing. I mean, how can you lose? It's a wonderful cause, and it's amazing to be so close to such talented young men and women. And I was so excited about this when Michael and Kavita asked me. I went home and I told my wife about it. Now, my wife is very tiny, very kind, very gentle. She never says anything bad about anybody or anything, and she's so sensitive. And she looked at me and she burst out laughing. And I said, "Why are you laughing?" And she said, why did they ask you? Couldn't they find anybody better? You're so stiff and formal. And I said, well, I will try my best and not to be stiff and formal, and I'm really appreciative of being here. And we're going to start this program on a very, very high note, and we're going to keep it on a high note throughout the evening. And the first song that we're going to hear tonight is by Etta James, and it's entitled At Last. And we have four very talented individuals who are going to perform this song. Karen Reuter is trained in opera music, and some of you who came to the White Coat ceremony heard her sing You Raise Me Up, and I hope that, like with me, it brought tears to your eyes. I was also supposed to say that she has a zeal for statement necklaces. I wasn't sure exactly what that meant. The individual who's going to play the piano is Matt Huber, and Matt's a first-year student, and he did an absolutely superb job the other night as sort of the major musical director for the Little Mermaid, and Matt wanted... And totally unrelated to his skill as a pianist, Matt wanted everybody to know that he loves Indian cuisine. Harold Hamann also participated in the white coat ceremony and played the lovely viola accompaniment to You Raise Me Up. And Harold wanted everybody to know this little known fact about himself, that he loves cats despite being allergic to them. And he hasn't learned about anaphylaxis yet, so we'll try to help him with that as he goes along. And finally, Kelsey Wilcher wanted us to know that she loves dogs, and that has nothing to do with the reason why she's here. She's here this evening because she's a superb saxophone player, started out in grade school with the tenor sax, now plays the alto sax, and even studied with a music professor in college on the saxophone. So we're looking forward to these four and Etta James at last. Well, how's that for an opening act? And just fantastic. The next performer is actually someone that all of the students, when you see him come on stage, you're going to say, I know that person, but you're not going to remember exactly where you've seen him. So I'm going to tell you, he is that very kind gentleman who works in the mailroom of the Communicore building, and he always has a ready smile and a good word for everyone. Mike Powers. And Mike apparently learned when he was very small that he could imitate other people's voices. And he now has 12 voices that he likes to do. And they run quite the gamut, from Kermit the Frog to Elvis Presley. Interestingly, Mike is the founding member of Los Pistoleros and the Cowboy Traveling Band. And this is a group of cowboy enthusiasts who have formed a theatrical stunt team and a musical team, and they entertain audiences, and one of the things they particularly like to do is reenact gunfights from the 1800s and early 1900s. And Mike's gonna present the Voices of Cowboy Mike. Mike.
You know I can't find sitting home all alone. If you can't buy a cent, please forget the past. The future looks bright ahead, don't be cruel to the heart that's true. I don't want no other love, baby, it's just you I'm thinking of. Don't stop to think of love, don't make me feel this way. Come on over here and love me. You know I want you to stay, but don't be cruel to the heart that's true. Why should we be apart? I really love you, baby, cross my heart. Well, let's walk to the preacher, and let's say I do. And then you know you'll have me, and I'll know that I'll have you. Don't be cruel to all that's true. I don't want no other love, baby, it's just you I'm thinking of. Don't be cruel to all that's true. Don't be cruel to all that's true. I don't want no other love, baby, it's just you I'm thinking of. Thank you very much. Now for the opposite end of the spectrum. Oh, the other side. There we go. Rainbows are visions, but only illusions. Rainbows have nothing to hide. So we've been told, and some choose to believe it. I know they're wrong, wait and see. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. Who said that every wish would be heard and answered when wished on the morning star? Somebody thought of it and someone believed it. Look what it's done so far. What's so amazing that keeps us stargazing? And what do we think we might see? Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. All of us under its spell, we know that it's probably magic. Have you been half asleep, and have you heard voices? I've heard them calling my name. Is this the sweet sound that calls the young sailors? The voice might be one and the same. I've heard it too many times to ignore it. It's something that I'm supposed to be. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. La-dee-da-dee-da-dee-dum, la-da-dee-da-da-dee-da-doo.
Cinderella's on her bedroom floor. She's got a crush on the guy at the liquor store. 'Cause Mr. Charming don't come home anymore. She forgets why she came here. Sleeping Beauty's been found for shame. She says, "None for you, dear prince, I'm tired today. I'll just leave my whole life away. Now you keep me from dreaming. 'Cause I don't care for your fairy tale. You're so worried about the miracle. You know she's only waiting on the next best thing. Next best thing. Snow White is doing dishes again, 'cause what else can you do with 7 itty-bitty men? She goes down to bed and she calls up her friends and to meet me at midnight. Tall blonde lets out a cry of despair, says, "Would have cut it myself if I knew men could climb hair. I have to find another tower somewhere, keep away from the window. 'Cause I don't care for your fairy tale. You're so worried about the man, but we know she's only waiting on the next best thing. Next best thing." Once upon a time in a faraway kingdom, man made up a story, said that I should believe and go and tell you where it might be handsome in hindsight. But I don't want the next best thing, so I'll sleep and hold my head down and I break these walls around me. Can't take no more of your fairy tale. For your fairy tale. You're so worried about the maiden, though you know she's only waiting on the next best thing. I don't care. I don't care. You're worried about the maiden, though you know she's only waiting. Spent a whole life being waited on, sanctity of patience and a dumb appreciation, but slowly needs some mending or a better happy ending. 'Cause I don't want the next best thing. No, I don't want the next best thing.
Mom? Okay. I'm about to start my anatomy practical. I've been studying all night. I woke up at 45 minutes of sleep. I was so tired and I can't remember anything. I'm freaking out. I can think what to start. Okay, bye.
Jonathan!
Hey!
How's it going, man?
These are so easy nowadays, you know, like, the first years just seem like freaking out about them, but, you know, I've done them so much, just legs, you have it all figured out. Yeah. It's nice, you know, to get that kind of confidence, you know? Well, we're not that far. Yeah, hope it goes over you.
Please move to your stations. The anatomy practical will begin at the sound of the bell.
What's this? Why is it all green? What's this? I step in and lean out the left hand. Is it palmer? Is it planker? What's this? What's this? What's this? I think it's inside out. What's this? The shape is like a drum. What's this? I'm running up the time to set it over this. Going for the control and love. Only I could focus. What's this? What's this? Don't tell me, Mr. Skeleton, oh how I looked in vain. Don't grin at me like that, you cannot feel my pain. I've worked through all the atlases, I've studied all the slides. So tell me why I'm so lost poking around in your inside. Anyways, this is crap, it's no fair. It has to be a trap. But why? We're going to the rare. Try to scare me with a question, what's the rare? What's this? What's this? Read what's the name? I feel alive. No wait! Frank Nether must be high. What's this? I think the place is crap. Dr. Mellon, I was laughing. All these nerves are simply bad. And I know I got it wrong. I'm gonna fail. I'm gonna fail. People leave me after this. What's this? What's this? No, the rushing is wrong. But wait! No, I got it wrong. What's this? The evil balance between that relation brings his heart to syndication. Sneaking from the flood station. Well, now the test is over and I'm going out the door. I'm sure my medical career's tattered on the floor. They'll take me up for certain where's the one that's let us pray that I can find a job with my biology. Alas, I can't get my MD. Now, I feel my understanding. I'm just filling up. I simply could not put it up. My knowledge is my knowledge is my knowledge. Oh, it doesn't know, it doesn't know. Can I go? Can I go? What is this? Grades are up. Everybody passed.
Well, I can't talk like Kermit the Frog, or I'm not very funny. So we'll do our best. Unlike Dr. Duff, I gotta say, you're pretty funny. I'm impressed. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you about the kind of the reason for the season. We're gonna get some pictures up here in a second. But it's been my great honor to be working with the students. At the University of Florida, we have a great tradition here that are really student-led. We call them mission trips, service learning trips. As I go around the country, not too many other medical schools have the history, the tradition that we have, and the initiative and the work that the students put into it. And this talent show is just one of the efforts that they do to raise funds for these. All the funds for the student trips, and the trips that I'll be describing to you, are raised by students. There is some support from the university, but frankly, 80 to 90% of the support is raised by the students. We have 7 trips. This is a picture of one of the trips in Ecuador. We have a trip to the Yucatan in Mexico. In the back of your program is a picture showing where our 7 trips go. We have 2 trips that go to the Dominican Republic, 1 trip that goes to Haiti, Nicaragua, Ecuador, as I said, and Thailand. That's the farthest trip that we go. Each of the trips is composed of about 20 to 30 students and faculty. It's a great time of bonding for the students, and they do a nice selection process to develop their team. And the teams are composed of primarily second year, but also third and fourth year students, and a couple of first year students that are going to be trip leaders next year. How many people here are first year students that are going to be trip leaders next year?
There you go. So, and the second years, how many are second year trip leaders here? They're probably studying because they've been working so hard on the trips. It's a lot of work to plan the trips. And they work very hard, and they have a tremendous experience. Each of the trips raises enough funds to basically take supplies and pharmacies to treat anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 patients. This is a partnership that we have with our in-country hosts. So we work closely with our in-country hosts to find communities and go into communities. We do clinics, and oftentimes in school settings like this, or in the clinics that have already been established, but we augment the services of those folks that are there. And I should back up to say that these are trips that are across the health sciences. This is the College of Medicine, but we have great partnerships, and we couldn't do it without our partners in pharmacy, dentistry, nursing, public health, and sometimes even vet med. Vet med has their own trips, and they usually work, but once in a while we'll even collaborate with them. And in these trips, the students basically do the physical examination and history, and as attendings or as physicians on the trip, we will supervise them and teach them. So it's a good learning experience for them. In addition to the physical exams that they get to do, we make sure that the diagnoses and conditions that we identify have follow-up care with our partner, in-country partners. It's very important that these trips and the work that we do not be a one-off, but be sustainable and have a lasting impact in the lives of the people that we serve. We really get a chance to spend a lot of time with patients in this trip. We get a chance to get to know communities. And the communities that we go to are, by intention, very poor communities. And many of the folks that we see in these clinics really don't have access to health care. The attendings and the faculty that go on these trips pay their own way. And they do their own teaching, and they also help in the fundraising as well. This is we had set up a clinic in a house in a fairly remote part of Ecuador, and one of the patients brought an x-ray. So we got a chance to look at their x-ray. And they had tuberculosis, unfortunately. The attendees do a lot of teaching on these trips, and they spend a lot of time with the students one-on-one. It's a really good time for students and faculty to interact. And I just want to emphasize that we have in-country partners, clinics and universities that we could not do these trips without. We emphasize heavily on teaching, education, public health education. So a lot of the trips will have groups, we'll have students rotate off from seeing patients to actually doing education and public health outreach with the community. Here's some kids learning, doing dental hygiene. And one of the nice things about these trips is that we may have physical therapy students or medical students or dental students, nursing students, pharmacists. We all exchange and work across our disciplines, so it's very interdisciplinary. Here's a young student giving out glasses. We give out thousands of eyeglasses to patients. It's really quite a remarkable experience to see someone who, because of age, usually because of aging, they can't see, and they've lost the ability to work with their hands because they can't see. And just simple eyeglasses gives them the opportunity to work. I think one of the most important things about the trips is, and we do emphasize quality and time spent with patients over volume. We're not there just to see as many patients as possible. We're there to spend quality time with the individual patients for two reasons. One, it gives the chance of the students to get to know the people that they're serving, and it also gives them a chance to express their love and concern for these folks. Our just being there, our presence there, I think gives them, honors the dignity of their existence, even though they're very poor and disadvantaged. So we get to play with kids a lot, which is fun. And as I said, these trips are interdisciplinary, so we'll have pharmacy students working with medical students, working with dental students. These trips allow the students to, I think they contribute significantly to their development as professionals. They learn new skills, they get to work under the supervision of more experienced physicians. They get to cooperate and collaborate with pharmacists and other professionals. They also get to work cross-culturally and cross-language. And really it's I think a very important lesson to learn to be able to communicate with people from a different culture or language than your own. In a country such as ours, with the diversity we have, this is an important skill for new physicians. The other thing that they get to do is they get to see the folks that we serve in their setting, in the communities they live. And again, oftentimes these are very poor, very deprived settings. And I think they get to see the impact of poverty on the health and well-being of the folks that we serve. Oftentimes we're doing a history on a woman who may be, by 50 years of age, but she looks 70 because of the wear and tear of physical labor and poverty. We get to go to very beautiful places as well. This is from the Thailand trip. So the teams really do have a great time. They work very hard during the week, and then they work very hard to communicate the findings they've had to our partner organizations. They also work very hard during the year to raise the money for the trips. So I want to thank you all very much for coming out and supporting the medical students and their fundraising for these trips. Thank you very much.
apologize. Kelly just texted to say that she was feeling a little sick, so she's right outside, but I'm gonna go get her.
Is she okay?
I think she is. I actually don't know. She just told me. Anyways, Dennis is going to tell you about how he developed his love for salsa, and we will start very soon.
Yeah, so as Dr. Duff said, I
started dancing salsa in college.
Dennis,
Yeah.
we found your partner.
You look ridiculous. Where? But seriously, where?
So Kelly is on her way. She's moments away, and we're just gonna have Dennis and Jeremy. They know the lines and the parts and the steps, so they're just gonna do the beginning. All right.